Hi guys, Reviewz here, bringing you this review on Super Metroid for the Super Nintendo. Building on the success of the original game, Super Metroid introduced new features like multi-directional shooting, a map, and even the ability to moonwalk. The game invoked a very creepy atmosphere by using a remixed version of the original soundtrack and being able to backtrack to previously visited areas to take advantage of the open-ended nature of the game. Well, I hope you enjoy this review on Super Metroid for the Super Nintendo. Super Metroid is an action-adventure game, and the third in the Metroid series, developed by Nintendo R&D 1 and published by Nintendo for the Super Nintendo in 1994. The game follows the adventures of bounty hunter Samus Aran as she attempts to retrieve a stolen Metroid from the space pirates. Super Metroid mainly takes place on the planet Zebes, a large open-ended world connected by various doors and elevators, where Samus searches the planet for a Metroid that was stolen by Ridley, the leader of the space pirates. Throughout the game, the player can collect power-ups that enhance Samus's armor and weaponry, as well as grant her special abilities such as the space jump, which allows her to jump infinite times to cover great distances. These abilities enable Samus to access previously inaccessible areas. The game introduces several new concepts to the series, among them the ability to enable and disable weapons and abilities in the inventory screen, and being able to moonwalk, which allows Samus to walk backwards while firing her weapons. Unfortunately, you won't be strutting your stuff like the Prince of Pop. Other items include the grapple beam, used to latch a laser beam onto the ceiling, and the ability for Samus to shoot in all possible directions while moving. Furthermore, the game allows Samus to combine her weapon beams, and the save system from Metroid 2 returns to Super Metroid that lets players save and restart the game at any of the save points scattered around the planet, as well as save at Samus's gunship, which fully recharges her health and ammunition. Samus's energy, stock of weapons, and a gridded map of her current location appear at the top of the screen. Super Metroid takes advantage of the 16-bit system by adding more detail to sprites, particularly Samus, complemented with fluid animation and the use of a dark colour palette for the planet Zebes, creating a dark, oppressive atmosphere which is seen in other games like Resident Evil and particularly Dead Space. Cutscenes are well rendered for the NES and do the job of conveying the story to the player. Super Metroid was developed by Nintendo R&D 1 with a staff of 15 people, managed by the creator of the Game Boy, Gunpei Yokoi, with the game being directed and written by Yoshio Sakamoto. The game was released almost a decade after the original Metroid for the NES, took half a year to gain approval for the initial idea, and actual development of the game took more than 2 years to complete. The developer's primary goal was to make a good action game, and wanted to implement features like a large map, but found it difficult to organise the amount of graphic data involved. Although the map does include the outlines of rooms, locations of importance, and dots representing special items. Instead, the developers decided to break the game up into several mini-adventures. To strengthen the connection to the original game, areas from Metroid were reused in Super Metroid to add a sense of familiarity to players of the first game. This in turn made Super Metroid much easier to build for the developers by reusing existing material. Being able to backtrack to visited areas and upgrading weapons would be seen in later games like Castlevania Symphony of the Night, coining the term Metroidvania. Music for the game was composed by Kenji Yamamoto and Minako Hamano, who used 16-bit versions of music from the previous games, alongside additional compositions. It's always great to hear the main Metroid theme, creating the sense of a large galactic universe that is waiting to be explored and reinforcing the fact that Super Metroid is the official successor to its original counterpart. Open-world games were rare at the time, and the amount of freedom the game granted the player was truly astonishing. However, this leads me to my main criticism of the game. An open world is all well and good, but it can be difficult to figure out where you are going, as the in-game map isn't the easiest to follow. Personally, I much prefer the map in Metroid Fusion, as it gives you a much clearer indication of where to go in the game. Another issue I had was that enemies can gang up on you quite quickly, and it can be a pain to take down all the enemies in a given area, even with multi-directional shooting. Nonetheless, Super Metroid does the science fiction genre proud, creating a compelling adventure and a strong, take-no-prisoners heroine who has become iconic in her own right. One of the things I'll always remember about this game is the very start. You land on the planet, and there are no enemies anywhere to be found. This created such a creepy and enthralling atmosphere, which led you to believe that anything could happen at any time as you made your way further into the bowels of the planet. Upon its release in 1994, Super Metroid struggled against more commercially successful games such as Donkey Kong Country, along with the launch of the PlayStation and Sega Saturn consoles. As a result, it sold poorly in Japan, but with the help of a strong marketing offensive by Nintendo, Super Metroid sold better in North America and Europe, leading to universal acclaim. If you'd like to know more about the Metroid franchise, check out my gaming rewind on the Metroid series. Super Metroid is an established sci-fi classic, one that players will always remember for its pioneering combat and open world nature. Well, that was my review on Super Metroid. Thanks for watching, and if you like this video, let me know by leaving a comment, press the thumbs up button, and subscribe to my channel. Until next time, peace out guys.